My name is Jim Lucy. I'm a senior technical product manager on the Office 365 marketing team. I'm here to talk to you about Office 365 for education, specifically around the overview of what it is and around the upgrades, service upgrades that we're doing. Just quick question. How many of you are affiliated with an academic institution? Great. You're in the right place. How about partners working with academic institutions? Okay, a couple. All right. So I'm generally going to just talk about the overview for half the time, give a quick demo, and then talk about service upgrades. And I should have plenty of time for questions. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of them. And then after this, I think from 12:30 to 3:30, I'm going to be in the office booth downstairs in the expo. So feel free to come and ask if you have very specific questions to your institution. I'm happy to answer them as I can and redirect you to others as relevant. I'm glad you guys made it here, by the way, 8:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. I'm sure a couple nights out on Bourbon Street kind of gets to you after a while. So thanks for making the time to come this morning. So as I said, the first half, I'm going to talk about Office 365, and what we have in store for academic institutions. But as we talk first about technology shifts in education, I read a lot of publications dealing with education and technology and talk to a lot of customers, and I'm just completely impressed by the speed at which technology is moving into academic institutions. As we look at, as we talk about these schools, the primary goal of an institution is to provide a quality education for students. I think we all agree. So everything that we're doing around that to help a school give a quality education to students is paramount. And it really starts in the classroom, in those four walls, with the instructor, with the educator, and giving them the tools to give their students the most innovative, the most unique instruction that they can give the students to give the best quality education. Students learn in different ways. Some like to feel, some like to read, some like to listen, things like that. And so having technology, having software services and other things available for those teachers to give the best quality education, they've got a lot of tools to choose from. And so they're looking for how they can make that experience the best they can. Now, as we flip that and look at the institution itself, a lot of you in here are probably working in the IT department for your school. And so you have a lot of tools, a lot of requests from the educators on things that they need for their classroom. You're looking at how you can be nimble and more agile and integrate that into your infrastructure for your school and make that available. You've got very unique concerns that you're concerned about besides the quality of the education. You're looking at compliance requirements, regulatory requirements. You're thinking about privacy of the students. You're thinking about data integrity, things like that, and integrating into your identity system in your local infrastructure. So there's just a lot of scenarios around education and looking at giving a quality education to the students, but doing it in a way that makes sense for the institution. And so I'll talk about why I'm here. I'm here to talk about Office, the new modern Office 365 service. And from our perspective, looking at the devices that people are bringing to an organization, there are just so many, and people have multiple devices nowadays. So you may find a student in class taking notes on a tablet using a pen, then leaving the class, going to the next place, meeting some friends, meeting some peers, going to a next class, and looking on their phone to see what their schedule looks like. When they get home, to their dorm room, to their apartment, to their home, whatever the case may be, and they need to open up a rich client on a desktop and start working on a document, a presentation that they have for class coming up, using a mouse and keyboard. So being able to move seamlessly through the different types of devices, the different types of touch, pen, mouse, keyboard, things like that is what we're designing for with the new Office. And then when we look at Windows 8 specifically, building very optimized applications for that experience with the Office apps, with Link, having a OneNote app specific for those devices. and then even building those out for Android and iOS devices. And I know that today we have the OneNote client, we have the Link client for iOS and Android, and I know that we're working on some others as they come out, and they might have been discussed in the web app sessions going forward. Then as we talk about the cloud, we just introduced with the new Office updates that we have an Office subscription service where you can get the complete Office Pro Plus as a download and subscription and stream on demand to your machines. So it's really cool. So no matter where you're at, you'll be able to access Office Pro Plus, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. We have a new cloud app development model that allows your institution to build applications or partners to build applications to integrate with the Office applications and using context-sensitive information in the document to provide relevant integration with those apps. And I actually have a quick little demo that I'll show you in a minute what we're talking about around that. And then looking at reliability, we have our service has a 99.9% financially backed SLA. And I know in the education environment, we have a free SKU, our Office 365 A2 SKU, which is free for academic institutions. While it is free and we provide financially backed, where if we have an outage, we reimburse financially to organizations impacted. That doesn't apply to a free SKU, obviously, but I just want to reassure you that you are on the same hardware, same servers, same data center that businesses are on. So when there's an outage, I don't want you to think that, oh, just because you're free, you're not important. You're very important because you're probably having the same outage that businesses are having, and it's incredibly important for us to get that up as quick as possible. So 99.9% financially backed SLA. As we look at social and integrating social throughout Office, our Office apps, students today, they don't use technology the way I did a long time ago. But, they're using Twitter, Facebook, they're texting each other, they're using Yammer, things like that to actually communicate in real time and where they can see historical information about the things they're doing. So we've integrated a lot of these news feeds and blogging capabilities throughout SharePoint. You can see them in Outlook and things like that. And so those social capabilities are pervasive throughout Office. We also have Link that allows teachers and students to communicate using high-def multi-party video. So you can have a class online, you can have a presentation, things like that, and be able to see who's in the meeting, share desktops, things like that. And then including having Skype federation with Link is actually important. That allow people from outside with the consumer offering for communication. And then looking at the IT infrastructure itself, as I said before, you guys are very interested in integrating and looking at compliance, regulatory environments, looking at security, things like that. So we have data loss prevention capabilities built into the product, allowing for data retention if there are specific needs, setting retention policies, having e-discovery if you get subpoenaed for some information. We have a very healthy e-discovery console. And so looking at this and the management interface throughout Office 365, that allows you to go through in our Microsoft Online portal and be able to manage SharePoint, manage Link, manage Exchange, manage anti-spam, antivirus protection, things like that in a single UI and not have things pulled together where there are different websites popping up, this and that, where you're trying to manage different places. It's all in a very common management interface in the online portal. So I'll be talking a little bit about more of these here. The clicker would go. So I got a few questions down at the booth about what is in Office 365. So it's always good when we talk about these words like devices, compliance, control, things like that, just to give you a perspective of the actual technologies, the services that are involved. So in the upper left corner, we have Office Pro Plus, which I mentioned we just added. as a subscription service for Office 365. It's a per-user license that we have for that. It's actually integrated into the A3 SKU for Office 365. And it allows your organization to have kind of fast deployment capabilities to the desktop for those users. You can even integrate it. You don't need Office 365 A SKU to get Office Pro Plus. You could just purchase Office Pro Plus as a subscription, and it'll integrate with your on-premises Exchange or SharePoint and Lync environments as well. In the upper right corner, we also have Lync Online. Really, when we talk about Lync, we're talking about having IM conversations, having multi-party high-def video conversations, just online meetings. It allows users the ability to share their desktop too. Helpful when you have a student talking to the help desk and they have a problem. They can share the desktop, the help desk can kind of see what they're doing, things like that. Being able and really having IM conversations and sharing that presence across, and you'll see the presence available throughout all of the applications in SharePoint and Outlook and Lync and so forth. Also throughout the Office apps is the ability to access a pretty healthy contact card. So when you're looking up people and searching people, that you can bring up a very healthy contact card and see who that person is, where they're at, even integration with social networks like LinkedIn and Facebook. In the bottom left, we also have SharePoint Online. Traditionally, it's for document storage, putting documents in a single location that allows groups of people to edit that single document. Everyone can keep adding, putting, and looking at students in a classroom environment where they're able to work on a project together. And the great thing is you can apply permissions to that SharePoint site or SharePoint document where only a certain set of people can get access to it. The My Sites were actually with Office 365, the new Office 365 services like SkyDrive Pro. In previous versions of SharePoint, it was called My Sites, but we have SkyDrive Pro that gives organizations 7 gig storage for all the users in their organization. So that's pretty cool for students. They can keep throughout the school year, through all 4 years, or in K through 12, their whole life. Pretty much, they can just keep all their documents up into a single location where they can access that. Okay, and then bottom right corner, Exchange Online. And really, you get a 25 gigabyte mailbox that allow you to have email, calendar, contacts, tasks. You can integrate voicemail in there, unified messaging capabilities with Exchange Online. The great thing, sharing free busy information. When setting up a meeting with your professor, being able to see if your professor is actually available to have a meeting with them is actually important. So having that free busy information is great. We also have an integrated personal archive. This might be beneficial for faculty. Maybe it's a research institution and you want to keep an ongoing log of research that's happening, or you have a compliance requirement to keep mail for, let's say, 7 years, I think is the longest I've heard in some school systems. We have an integrated archive. We also have retention policies. As an admin, you can apply policies to these mailboxes that allow to delete mail on a regular basis. Like maybe you set a policy that you can only keep mail for a year, or if you want it 7 years, you basically put a policy that after that time, something happens to that mail. It could go to an archive, it could be deleted, whatever the case may be. As an IT administrator, you have some flexibility with Exchange Online to apply different sets of policies to different types of users, whether they're faculty, staff, and students. Okay, I just have one quick slide. I think there was an entire session around Office Pro Plus, but I'm just going to give the 5-minute overview. So with Office Pro Plus, we do have it available as a download, and it is available as a service where you can get the entire Office experience streamed to your desktop. You can install it on up to 5 different machines. So you have a student that may have a tablet, a student that may have a desktop PC back in their apartment, or whatever the case may be. That's available there. And pretty much it's just click, and it installs locally, and it's very fast. And the way we do it, we're installing it in the background the most common features first so you can get up and running. So if you want to work on Word, Word will just pop up and start working as it downloads and installs the rest of the application in the background. The great thing about, we also have Office on Demand. And what this is if you're at a conference like this and you go to a kiosk machine that does not have the Office applications on it, you go to sign into your Office 365 portal, you go to access a document to work on it. If it doesn't have that application installed there, it'll actually install it in the background in memory. And we use AppV, which I know there are some sessions on AppV in TechEd here, that we actually install it in memory that allows you to work on it at that location. You're safe here because I'm pretty sure we have Office on all the kiosk machines. So you're good to go there. But whenever you log off of Office 365, move away from the machine, it'll just wipe it from memory, and on you go. Nothing left behind there. And the great thing about having the subscription model for Office 365 Pro Plus is it'll always keep you up to date. Whenever we apply a patch, a security fix, whatever the case may be, we're just going to stream it down in the background to that machine so users don't have to worry about constantly updating. And the great thing is we're doing it in the background. You don't have to stop and restart the application. We're going to do it in the background while you're working on it. All right. Okay, and as we just looking at Office 365 in general, providing identity capabilities, email, Exchange Online from a messaging standpoint, we have Link for voice and video capabilities, SharePoint Online for content management, we have social capabilities built throughout the product, and we have reporting and analytics throughout the services as well. The great thing is we have APIs and web services built on top of that. So you as an organization or partners can build on top of Office 365, integrate your learning management systems, whether you have Blackboard, things like that, student information systems, maybe recruitment capabilities. You have professors that want to get grant money. There's applications to help get that grant money. You can have that integrated. One scenario that I think about is as a college student, I'm signing up for my classes at the probably right now, or a few weeks ago at the end of the year, getting ready for the next semester. So I go into the registration system, I sign up, I know the classes I sign up. When I hit save, it should just send me a meeting request on behalf of the professor and fill my calendar right away. We already know the professor who's having the class. We all know the room that the class is going to be in. It's likely already been reserved. So Exchange Web Services actually allows you to send a meeting on behalf of the professor and have it available for those students, ready to go. And that way, also, the professor will know when I hit accept. They'll know who's already accepted the meeting request, have an idea of who's using the email capabilities. So anyway, we have a pretty healthy web services and API set that allows you to integrate your infrastructure with Office 365. And with that, I was just going to jump in and do a quick demo and show you some of these things. Okay. So first off, I'm looking at Outlook Web App. And with Outlook Web App, we have a whole new design, much easier to get around. It looks a little bit more elegant than it did in what we call the Wave 14 version of Outlook Web App. And we have some things built in right away that I wanted to show you. We have the apps. I talked about that a minute ago, our whole new app development model. In this particular email from Pavel, he's talking about he needs some help with calculus, and he'd like some time to meet at a local Starbucks. He even put the address here of where that's going to be. And we noticed this from the app integration. We noticed the context strings and actually suggested 2 apps that might be relevant. He recommended meeting. So, okay, there's a calendar request that might be made. So if I go in and look at click suggested meetings, it pulls up the app. Should have clicked on this before I started. All right, great. Let's go look at the Bing Maps one. All right. All right. Demo done. Oh, thank you. That would actually explain things. right, well, I'm connected. Let me go click the other one. What was it, NOLA? And raise your hand if you saw that coming. Okay. All right. Let's try it again. Okay. So it brings up, says, hey, we think we found a meeting. You mentioned a meeting. Do you want to schedule one? So quickly and easily, they can click schedule a meeting right here and not have to click around and find where that happens at. They also mentioned an address. So it'll actually, instead of having the user having to go out, open up a browser, go to bingmaps.com, not Google Maps, and bring up the map, they can actually bring it up right in this interface and never have to leave. And it's even touch sensitive, so I can just click around and move and see things. So anyway, it's great. And as you think about this for your organization, think about the types of text that might be in email messages and conversations, and what kind of applications that you have in your school that you have integrated. It's pretty healthy. Use JavaScript, HTML5 to actually render some of this, so it's that simple. And I believe there's a session on app development, and I don't know the code offhand, but keep an eye out for it. Also, kind of simply here, yes, that would be great. So I can go ahead and edit inline in the preview pane here, but if I move off the message, you'll notice it says draft. Where before, to see messages that I was working on, I had to go to the drafts folder and then go find it. It's pretty clear that this conversation that I was working on, I had something that I left that I can go back to and continue editing. So I go over here, I continue editing, and great. Did I lose connection again? I did. It's popping on and off. Okay, everybody turn off their cell. Okay, so anyway, I can go work on it. I'm just going to hit discard and move on. So I'm going to flip over to the full Outlook client. I wanted to show you a couple things over here. First off, we have these little peaks, these hoverovers, so you don't have to click and move off and go to a different screen. I'm still looking at my email, but I can hover over people and see common people that I work with, and Pavel is offline, but I'm going to bring him on here. Okay, he hasn't restarted. Anyway, internet connection. So Pavel, he could be online here any minute, but I can see a quick list of users. I can even hover over and get to rich contact card information for those specific users. Same thing with calendar. In this case, I go and I see that I have my calculus class today. I have my accounting class I need to go to. I see what times they're at. I don't have to go to my actual calendar to get to them. But I can click and get right to my calendar and see that I have a pretty healthy calendar here. And also, you see that we've integrated, just some basic weather information. As you're looking at what day of the week, everybody's always wanting to know what the weather's going to look like in New Orleans. Well, we got showers coming. And hopefully it gets through tonight, because I hope to have a good time tonight down in Bourbon Street. So in this particular case, for Katie, the registration system actually created those calendar entries on behalf of the professor for Katie at the beginning of the semester. But what it also did is it created specific team mailboxes, or site mailboxes. And there's a session, I believe, right after this around site mailboxes and the site mailbox architecture. So what I'm going to talk about now, if it's interesting to you guys, go check it out. It's on the OUC track. So these site mailboxes, as I signed up for the class, it created one for accounting, calculus, and marketing. And the great thing about this, whoever was given permissions for the site mailbox will see it in their Outlook view here. And it has its own special inbox here, the professor actually sent an email message to the class that says, hey, welcome to the class. Can't wait to meet you guys. I've created a web page for us to work with. In this class also, you'll see right in Outlook, it's based around this is a site mailbox, but there's also a team site associated with it with SharePoint. And on that site, the professor's put some documents. She put the syllabus up there, a lecture she's going to have coming up where I can look at the PowerPoint available for it. I can even go and drag documents into this preview pane or this document list right here, and it'll show up in the SharePoint library. But what I'm going to do is go back and actually show you what it looks like on the other side. If I actually go into the SharePoint site for this, the team site. Okay, pretty basic. This is what's built by default, the look and feel. Has a news feed built in here. You see the document library. There's the same 2 documents off to the right side that we were showing just a second ago. And we also can access, if I'm used to working in a web page and not email, I can still get to the mailbox right from here. It basically just opens up a new OWA window where I can view the email in there. I'm just going to go here really quick and actually drag a document in there. So in this particular thing, I'm just going to pick this document out of here. I'm going to drag it right to the team mailbox site, the team site in SharePoint. If I click over here, you can see now it's in the document list. And if I go back over to the site, and I'm going to hit refresh, and hopefully I have a network connection that lasts long enough. Did I drop it in the right one? Yes. Working on it. Okay. I don't know why it's not there. Well, I'll come back to it. Also in this particular case, we have Northwind Traders. Here's a project team that from their marketing class that Katie's working on with a group of people. It's got a pretty healthy document set that everybody's working on. I just wanted to go and show you how to get to that doc library from here. So I'm logged in as, oh, that's why. Well, that still doesn't make sense as Pavel. So here's Katie. I'm going to go to the sites. I'm very curious now to why Katie did not see that. This is the marketing site. Yeah, okay, there it is. Maybe it just didn't render it for Pavel at that time, who was logged in as a different user. But here's the document that I just dragged over in Outlook. Okay, but if I go and look at a more customized site that was created for Northwind Traders, ringtones say a lot about the person. So here, you can even add in, calendar, things like that, timelines, or whatever the case may be. For this particular project that they're working on for the class, you can kind of see that, hey, we've got some deliverables coming up. They have conversations in the news feed. And this is a great way for the professor to kind of see who's integrated in this, who's working on this project, who's not, how are they working towards the timeline of getting to it if they so desire. Same thing with the marketing class. They can see who's engaged with the class, who's having conversations, who's interested. So I think the team site, team mailbox, as you sign up for a class, having these things built for you, and actually helping with building some collaboration amongst the students in the class is actually quite helpful using this technology. And one last thing I wanted to show you in Outlook for IT administrators, as you look at security of the students, security of information passing across the wire here, we have data loss prevention capabilities. So I'm going to have this where Katie's going to send an email to Northwind Traders. She's actually going to attach a document. This has, it's fake data for her project, but it contains credit card information. The Excel spreadsheet has a column that has credit card information in it. or the string of numbers, 4 numbers, dash 3 numbers, dash whatever, that it's the data loss prevention policy that we applied to this on the background at the transport layer, it was able to detect that. We also have, I'm going to add Garth in here because I want you to see how we just pop up cool little things. She added Garth because, hey, Garth, I want to send this information to Garth as well, but he's out of the office. He's on vacation somewhere. I don't know why, because school's in session, but it just pops up. So why send the email to Garth? So I'm going to take Garth off there. That mail tip just disappears. But the great thing about this policy is from an administrator, you can set soft policies or hard policies. In this case, we have a hard policy. So if I go to try and send it, it's going to pop up and say, hey, your organization won't allow you to send this because it has sensitive information in there. We could have set it as a soft policy that allows the end user to send it anyway, but it's not as interesting in a demo. But even if you had hard or soft policies, as an administrator, you can go and look at our DLP reporting and actually see how many times a DLP policy was actually hit, the success rate, things like that. Okay, that's it for demo land. So I'm going to pop back over here. So that's the end of phase 1. Now I wanted to talk about service upgrades, and I figured this is going to be a more contentious topic, but I would like a raise of hands. How many are on Office 365 today? Okay. We have a difference between Office 365 that we've had for a few years and what we're just turned over to, the new Office 365 service, and we're going through upgrades to that. How many of you are on the new service, on some of the things that I just showed? Okay, a small handful. How many of you are on the existing service, the older service? Okay, now the trick question. How many of you are on LiveEDU? Okay. All right, so great. The information that I put in the deck here, we should cover all of this. Oh, by the way, how many of you aren't on LiveEDU or Office 365? Okay. How many of you want to be on Office 365? All right. Okay. Okay, so the service upgrades. I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about service upgrades in general and what we're doing moving in the future. I'm going to talk specifically, briefly about the Office 365, what we call the Wave 14 to Wave 15 service upgrade. I'm going to spend most of the time talking about LiveEDU because I think from a LiveEDU perspective, this is the thing that's most impactful to IT administrators, and I thought it was going to be the thing that was going to be most interesting and relevant. So that's the last part of it. So if the LiveEDU upgrade piece is not interesting to you, I will not be upset if you up and left. And again, I'm available from 12:30 to 3:30 downstairs in the pavilion. So as we look about service upgrades in general, we have this concept of minor upgrades and major upgrades. A major upgrade is things architecturally that we're doing in Office 365 that are going to make a difference and that it takes some time for us to apply these changes. It just so happens that the new Office 365 that we're doing now is considered a major upgrade. So that's why it's taking us. We have a lot of mailboxes, a lot of domains that we have on Office 365, and it's taking us a while to get through upgrading those. And by the time we get done, there might be another upgrade. So it just takes a while. But all along, we have minor upgrades too. We'll be adding new features and capabilities to Office 365 on a monthly, quarterly basis. They'll be coming, and we'll be as open as we possibly can about things that we have coming in the future. And the great thing about where we're moving towards with Office 365, we're trying to build these capabilities to allow you, we'll add the feature, but we'll have it turned off by default, and allow you as an administrator to turn it on for a select number of people to pilot that feature and capability before rolling it out to your entire organization. And I think this will give administrators a bit more control about some of the things coming down, allow their help desk to get up to speed before unleashing it to the broad user population. You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question mailboxes feature within the Office 365 interface, and so that seems to go against what you just said.
Okay, the ability to turn off site mailboxes,
because there's a lack of control around the feature in the interfaces. Specifically, there can be namespace collisions. The users get to choose whether or not those are provisioned or not.
Okay.
And then they can collide with a controlled namespace.
So I don't know the specific answer on how to turn off site mailboxes so you can't even use them, period. There is a session right after this. It would be a great question to ask them. Generally speaking, we're working towards getting better about every single feature and being able to turn on, turn off, things like that, having more administrative control. Like SkyDrive Pro, for example, the My Sites for the new Office, they're not on by default. To get the new SharePoint, the new SkyDrive Pro interface, that is something that you as an administrator would turn on. But My Sites, or the team sites, I think that would be a great question for the next, and I'll ask Alphonse downstairs in the booth after when I see him. Okay, so generally speaking, major upgrades. Right now, we're going through this with the Office 365 service upgrade. We hope to be done by the end of 2013. So you can see, we started at the beginning of the calendar year, and we should be done by the end of the calendar year. It's just going to take a long time. And I wish I could tell you the exact date that your institution will be scheduled to update. I cannot. So talking about the Office 365 service upgrade specifically, we have the big tagline here, it's not a big IT project. Because basically in the background, this is just new features coming to end users. Yes, you'll need to find some way to train them, provide resources to help train them, and pointing them to our websites on how features work and things like that, and training your help desk. I'm not saying that there is no cost whatsoever to your organization, but generally speaking, it's not a big IT project. We're just going to update you in the background. There's no end user disruption. Just one day they're logged into Outlook web app. They see one interface. The next day they log in, they see the new interface. Simple as that. Also, and when I was saying about the SkyDrive Pro being able to upgrade on your own terms, that we are going to be allowing you to pilot these features like SkyDrive Pro and the new SharePoint interface, that we don't have it turned on by default, that you would be able to turn it on and pilot to a set of users first. That piloting capability, it's not extensive throughout every single feature in the service. We're working towards that. But you can get an idea of this piloting capability of where we're working towards. And again,
is that SharePoint upgrade still on task for June?
The SharePoint upgrade? So SharePoint. So the question was, is the SharePoint upgrade scheduled for June?
It's still on task. It's the last we heard from Microsoft. It's scheduled for the new upgrade 2013 interface to be out in mid-June.
Okay, no, I don't know. I know that we're updating the entire service, and it's actually a multifaceted approach. We're updating SharePoint server in the background, and then we'll apply it to your domain. Your domain might be in June. Another domain might be in July. Another domain might be in September.
So everything is pretty much still on track.
We're moving right along towards having everybody move to the new Office 365 service by the end of 2013. Yep. Might have to ask me specifically about your tenant, and then we can have a scope conversation there. Okay. Yep.
Upgrade on your terms. It's not a big IT project, but you said it's user education. We all raised our hand higher ed. June through September, August, our users aren't there. I mean, we don't have students, faculty are gone. Is there any way to get these types of things, or is there any higher ed special consideration to where we need to push this out maybe past September instead of when we're all blasted in August with students, faculty returning? We don't have to deal with that, as well as, oh yeah, by the way, your email.
So as a school, you want to push the upgrade out past September?
Well,
I hear you want to do it in the summertime.
I would not want to do it in the summertime because I don't have people there. Nobody's there to learn it or to figure it out or to, I mean, I'll tell you right now, you're going to want to do it when you have
From an end user experience?
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of the quarter, middle of the semester was the wrong.
Yeah.
See, because we started looking at this, and our executive directors came back and said, this, something like this would have to be communicated out. We would have to do that. We don't have the faculty and staff on campus during the summer to justify doing it during the summertime.
Right.
That's part of our reason. Another reason being it's hurricane season.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So, yeah, no problem. I mean, okay.
With the upgrade, we're giving a 30-day notification, and it's going to be upgraded on that date. You will have a one-time option to postpone that upgrade and push it out. So you'll have about a 90-day window where you can choose to do the upgrade. But I hear more, I want to go in the summertime because my students aren't there, and I can kind of slowly get people up to speed. But at the end of the day, we've got a mammoth project to do these upgrades. And it's going to take us the whole year to do them. And we're not just doing schools, we're doing businesses, and they don't have downtime. They're up and running all the time. So I think across, we need to do a better job to actually help educate and help your help desks get up to speed and be able to handle. Personally, I'd love to know what your help desk issues are so that we can write the right content. But I know everybody has help desk top issues in a different format, different database, things like that. But it's very interesting to me. LiveEDU, on the other hand, it's a bit opposite of the Office 365 upgrade. LiveEDU is basically built on top of the LiveID interface, the LiveID provisioning system. It gives students Exchange Online, or what we called Outlook Live, and it applies and it tags on Messenger, which is now Skype. You get SkyDrive, you get any of the other Windows Live services. You basically the student has a live ID that they could get access to. So we're moving everything to Office 365, and I think this is going to be a definite benefit to those LiveEDU institutions getting on the Office 365 train, having the access to SharePoint, having access to Link, having access to basically where we're moving towards in the long run. LiveID, the LiveEDU, we're getting onto the education environment, and now we're moving everybody to the very same train that's moving forward. So this is good. There's been a number of things that the Windows Live team did from a consumer perspective that they don't think about organizations using LiveIDs. But we have a lot of schools using LiveEDU that when they make a change and it impacts negatively for the school from an organizational perspective, it's just good we're getting onto Office 365. With our upgrade also, we do not have any end user downtime. We're copying the passwords over from LiveEDU to Office 365 so that there isn't that outage window where they don't have the password available to them. Obviously, there's a new URL that they'll have to access, which I'll talk about that in just a moment. But generally speaking, we're preparing the upgrade in the background right now, and that upgrade will just kind of happen. There is a bit of work from an administrative perspective, though, where the Office 365 service upgrade is really end-user change-oriented. The LiveEDU upgrade, there's not much change to the end user. It's really a burden on the IT administrator to update to supported identity federation capabilities and things like that with Office 365. It is a bit of a change to you guys, and we know that's a bit daunting. So I apologize ahead of time, but the thing that we can do is to provide as much information as we can to get you guys prepared and ready for Office 365 as possible. And so that's where I wanted to take us now, and just to talk more about the LiveEDU upgrade. I do have some Office 365 service upgrade requirements and things like that mixed into these slides, but generally from here on out, it'll be mostly around the LiveEDU upgrade. There are two phases to this upgrade that we're going through. The first is the things that Microsoft is doing in the background to get everything ready. As I said, LiveEDU is based on a LiveID provisioning system, and we're having to rip ourselves away from that and move over to Office 365 and the org IDs. So in the background, in this first phase, we're actually preparing these tenants for the upgrade and basically creating the domains, creating the things like that on Office 365 in the background. During this process, there are some minimized capabilities that organizations are able to do. So no longer at this point in time will you be able to add and remove domains associated with your tenant, no longer be able to edit co-branding for that tenant, no longer be able to edit the address and the phone or enable SSO. And those things you have to wait till you get to the other side to actually modify. But during this particular window that we're in right now, by the way, the Live EDU upgrade will be completely done by the end of September. So we're moving fast and furious at this particular moment in time. During this phase that Microsoft is doing for you guys, there's no impact to the end users, just still using the service. They don't know anything's happening. It's just moving right along. And we're just preparing that tenant in the background for Office 365. Now, once we get that tenant prepared, schools will get an automatic notification from us. It'll be a 30-day notice that'll say, hey, you're going to be upgraded in 30 days. If you choose not to do anything, it'll just happen, and the upgrade will just go. But you can choose to upgrade and click the button early, or you can hit postpone and push it out 60 days or so. But from an administrator perspective, we have a healthy set of before, during, and after upgrade checklists of things that you want to go through. So if you go to our Live EDU Upgrade Center, which I think on the last slide I have a link to that, definitely important. But communicate to your users that a change is coming. There is a URL change, which I'll talk about in a moment. It's pretty basic, and if you have a single sign-on portal that all users go through, it's probably less impactful for those. But also, the second thing, start the upgrade. Once you get the notification, just get the upgrade going. If you're ready, ready, pick a weekend and hit that upgrade button. From our data for these upgrades, we finish 95% of the upgrades in less than a day. 98% in less than 3 days, so a weekend. So think about it in that context. If you're going to hit it on a Friday afternoon, should be done by the end of the weekend, so when your students come back to class on Monday. And then, like I said, for those that are using Outlook Live Management Agent or SSO and things like that, from an identity and federation standpoint, there is significant change moving to Office 365 that you need to prepare for. Question? When you hit the upgrade button to when it's done, the end user still accesses the Outlook Live, Outlook Web Access, just the way they have before. It's the same interface, so there's not really any change to them in that context. During the actual upgrade, when you hit the upgrade button, the only thing that you won't be able to do is change passwords. But when the upgrade's done, an administrator, you can then change passwords again. Okay, and then from the end user perspective, they're going to be connecting through a new URL. Before it was Outlook.com. Now it's Outlook.com/domain name. And we have healthy content on that. If you have a single sign-on portal, whatever the case may be, if you have a link on your university or school website, just change the URL to point to the right one. But if they're going there themselves, that's something that you'll need to educate the end users on, to go to a new URL. Okay? Talking about the experience workload by workload, when we're talking about email, we're not moving anything. It's on Exchange 2010. We're moving you to Exchange 2010. We're not even moving. The data stays right where it's at. We're basically just pulling away from the Live ID and attaching to the org ID in Office 365. The email data stays exactly where it's at. So there's no worry about, oh my gosh, I lost data, this and that. It's there. We're not moving it. So that's why we're calling this an upgrade and not a transition or a migration. The data is just staying right where it's at. Windows Live, we are decoupling ourselves from Windows Live. I'm going to talk to you in a moment about what that means from a user perspective and their identities. They're going to have 2 identities after the upgrade. Another question? Yep. I'll talk. That's the last line on this slide. And at the time that we are building the engine to do these upgrades, they hadn't finished the engine to do the 14 to 15 upgrades, so we couldn't bolt onto that. And the train's moving right now, and so it will be a 2-hop experience, and I'll chat about that in just a moment. From a password perspective, we actually did some work in our engine to actually copy the password from Live at EDU over to Office 365 so that users won't have to reset their password after the upgrade's done. So that's actually good for you guys. You won't get inundated with help desk calls. There are some scenarios where we don't copy a password over. It's where and Windows Live has this thing where if they see a corrupted account or a compromised account, they might actually force a user to reset a password. That's the only scenario where we might not copy over that password. From a provisioning standpoint, if you're using, how many are using Outlook Live Management Agent or OL Sync? Okay, so that is basically for directory synchronization to Live at EDU. That is not supported on Office 365. Those tenants will need to move over to directory synchronization or some other, if you're using PowerShell or whatever the case may be, over on Office 365. And it just so happens from, we released on Monday, I don't know if you heard in the identity session that was earlier this week, and then there's another one on Thursday, that we just released password sync for DIRSync, directory synchronization plus password sync. That was released on Monday. And I haven't seen a blog post on it. I've been pinging the PMs, but they're presenting on Thursday at 2:45 p.m. The Identity and Azure Active Directory session will be a good one if you're interested in that. Okay, perfect. Single sign-on. How many of you are using the single sign-on toolkit for Live at EDU? Okay, so Office 365, from a federation perspective, only supports Active Directory Federation services or Shibboleth with SAML 2.0. So if you're implementing federation with Office 365, that's where you need to go to. And any supported federation implementation that we add now and in the future, that's the way to go. For schools that were using the SSO toolkit, to get through our upgrade, we've actually provided a patch to the single sign-on toolkit. We just released 4.5. You'll need to actually implement that. It's basically a proxy. You can do it now. You don't need to wait till after the upgrade. You can implement that proxy now to start using, pointing to Live at EDU. And when the upgrade happens, the proxy just points right to Office 365 for you. We're going to have limited support for that SSO toolkit till the end of 2014, and to give you a good wide window to move to a supported federation solution for Office 365. If you want more detail on that, please stop by the booth downstairs and have a chat with me. So to just reiterate the question from the gentleman in the back on the Office 365 service upgrade, we are moving Live at EDU to Wave 14. And then no sooner than 15 days after the upgrade is done, you get a notification that the upgrade's coming for Office 365, Wave 14 to Wave 15. Apologies for the double hop. And for those that were on Hotmail before, we know that you've moved from Hotmail to Live at EDU, Live at EDU now to Office 365, Office 365, 14 to 15. Thank you for being patient. But moving forward on Office 365, as I talked about how we're doing upgrades now and in the future, be less impactful. And we're looking to better integrate a piloting experience when we do have changes that you can pilot it, you have some comfort in knowing that, that you're ready to roll out those changes to your organization. But it is what it is moving forward right now. I had one more point that I wanted to make on this. And I think I have a slide. Yeah, I have a slide in just a moment. I'll talk about it. So I talked a second ago about the dual identity. Because Live at EDU is based on Live IDs, the Live ID provisioning system, and we're moving you to Office 365, where you'll have an org ID. What happens with that Live ID? Basically, after the upgrade's done, you see that little dotted line right down the middle? We're cutting it up. These are going to be, each user is going to have 2 different accounts. They're going to have their organization controlled, and I might use this hand, the organization account for Office 365 that you as an institution manage, set up with your provisioning system, identity system, federation, things like that. Then they're going to be left with their Windows Live ID. And they'll still have it because they probably still have a SkyDrive that they might have documents in. They still have a Skype account that they have a list of messenger buddies that they've been talking to and stuff like that, their favorites list. They'll still have all that they might want their ID to get access to it. So after the upgrade's done, they'll have the same exact username, the same exact password for both the consumer environment and the Office 365 environment. The moment that their password changes for your institution on Office 365, they're going to be out of sync. It is what it is. You don't have control over their Windows Live ID anymore. You can't change the password. Windows Live doesn't provide an API that allows you to change the password over there. That is now their own personal thing, and they're going to go off and do what they want with it. They might not have even been using it for personal stuff. Great. Hopefully that's the case. But what's going to happen is they're going to have two. You may get help desk calls for people that do use it quite a bit. And what happened to the password? So there's a notification that you want to do to your user base that says this upgrade's coming. You're going to end up with this Windows Live ID still with the same password. Remember that password. Remember that password. Question?
I think I'd be remiss to say this. Whoever thought of this is a terrible idea.
To break them up?
I told our TAM, I was like, you've got to be kidding me that we're throwing all these students' SkyDrive essentially under the bus. Now, I understand we're moving to Office 365. It would be wonderful, but just tell someone in your group who will hire up, by the way.
Is it the fact that there were two IDs?
Because they don't really understand.
No, right.
And what's worse is because the accounts stay the same, unless they're paying attention, they'll continue to use their SkyDrive, and then that first password change, because we force password changes on all our users.
Yep.
They'll be like, what happened? And then, of course, they've ignored all the emails we sent to them.
Yeah, if they've even opened their email. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just precipitates on them.
Yes, I completely agree.
So there we go.
Yes, completely agree. Question?
Can we keep them in RID and federate back so they use RID to authenticate and like we still have?
So you want to set up federation with the Windows Live ID interface?
No,
Yeah, can't do that.
it's all on your ID.
Yeah. And from your terms of use for Live EDU, it's only for the email service. So even for SkyDrive and Skype and things like that, that's outside of the terms of use anyway. But now that it's a personal account, it's kind of out of your control. Sadly enough, you'll likely get the help desk calls. And I did create a short little video. It's like a 2-minute video that you can point end users to kind of see if they want to know why or what or how. But they can see that. But at the end of the day, they'll need to remember their password. And it's great for the first 90 days after they're on Office 365 till the forced password reset happens. But yeah, there was another question.
Our experience has been fairly terrible. Still don't have it working. Do we have any free support to try and get this up and running? Office 365?
To get Office 365 up and running, is there free support?
We don't have normal Microsoft support.
There's part of Office 365. There's 24/7 support available in 30 languages around the world. If you go into, you have a Office 365 tenant already. If you go into the portal, log in as admin. Down on the left side, there's a support option. And when you click on the right, you'll see phone numbers to call. Nope, free support. Yep.
I can tell you they're very responsive. Called me on a Friday and Saturday. Called me 3 times before I could even get the phone. So
I paid him.
we're all over it.
We had a good experience too. We even converted our students, 30,000 students, but all of our faculty and staff.
Yep.
That was the next question. I'm K-12. Can we separate the stuff from students so they can't see each other in the break time?
In the new Office 365, we have this feature called address book policies that you can set policies and move people into different and segregate the address book. So you can do that. And looking at a school system, you may have school X. You might want to have 5 schools in the same domain, but segregate the address book. Look for, if you want some more information, Greg Taylor down in the booth. And I'll be there from 12:30 to 3:30. I can tell you when he's working next down there. He wrote the feature, and he would be a great person to chat with about that.
Do you know if they're addressing the issue where per forest you can only use DoSync and we really like to use Film to be able to sync up to multiple tenants? Because right now it only allows 1 and we have 3.
Yeah, go check.
We can only offer single sign-on to one of our
Yep. Thursday at 2:45, go to the Identity and Azure Active Directory Federation session. It's being put on by the lead PMs for Identity and Federation, Ross Adams and John O'Luck. So that question would be great for them. Thursday at 2:45. And I saw another hand. And I just have a couple more slides, and I think I have 10 minutes or so here, so let me just pop through them. Requirements, and the requirements that we've been communicating for Live EDU are the same requirements for Office 365 Wave 15, so we know that's where you're going to, so you can kind of see what these are. So from a client perspective, Internet Explorer 9 or later, Windows XP and Vista will be supported till the end of 2013, so you might want to start thinking about the leap for them moving forward. Office 2007 and later. From a provisioning perspective, I think I've chatted about that. Need to upgrade to supported federation and identity systems. And down in the bottom, the little bullets, this is the URL I was talking about before. Before you connect to Outlook.com, now you'll need to change to connect to Outlook.com/that domain name. So just make sure that your single sign-on portal, things like that, are pointing to the right URL. Quickly to talk about the licensing. So with the Live EDU upgrade, because the terms of use is only for email, we are actually upgrading you to Exchange Online Plan 1. Now this is important. After you move to Exchange Online Plan 1, you can accept the new Microsoft Online Services Agreement, and then you'll have lit up the ability to select A2, A3, or A4. And A2 is the free SKU, which most of you might select. If you're looking at getting the Office Pro Plus capability and streaming Office down to your faculty and staff and users, that you might want to look at A3. And if you're looking at enterprise voice capabilities, move to A4. Now, because this is a 2-hop experience, moving from Live EDU to Wave 14, then Wave 14 to Wave 15, might not be a bad idea to hold off moving to the A SKU until after the Wave 15 upgrade. That way you can kind of minimize the communication that you have to your end user base. You move them to, we're moving Live EDU to Office 365 Wave 14. Just stick with the email. That's what they've been used to all along. Just stick with the email. And then when you get upgraded to go through the Office 365 service upgrade, then go through and select the appropriate A SKU that you want for your organization. Communicate out, hey, here's some great new stuff, SharePoint, SkyDrive Pro, Link, go get them. Okay. And then the last slide here is really to just talk about some of the resources available to your organization. I'll let you read it while I answer this question.
Yes. Once you have the DoSync and the federation all set up on the Wave 15, beyond that, are you able to push content up to the student accounts, like the calendar and things like you want to take your SIS data and go ahead and pre-populate their schedule?
Yeah, with Exchange Web Services, you have access to all the content, email, calendar, contacts within for users. So, like I said, as they go to the registration system, they sign up for a class. Why not send them a meeting request on behalf of the professor? You can use, assimilate their credentials and send every student that signs up that meeting request. So yes, you can populate their calendar with that class information. And actually, I wrote a white paper on it. If you come see me in the booth, I can point you to my white paper.
New
New customers go right into Wave 15, yes. If I sign up today on Office 365, I go directly into Wave 15. Question?
We're on A2 and cannot connect email to Outlook on Gmail. Is that a license restriction or is that something further?
Nope. The question was he's on A2 and wasn't able to connect a user's Outlook to the Exchange Online service. That would be a support issue that, I have no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Were they able to connect via their phone? Or anything? How about Outlook Web App? Okay, come check down in the booth and I'm happy to chat with you more about that. Just generally speaking, we have a whole LiveEDU upgrade sent. Raise your hand if you haven't received an email from me on the LiveEDU upgrade. Good, I'm doing my, you haven't, do you have a domain on LiveEDU? Okay, then good. Yeah, we're only sending email to LiveEDU tenants, and we're very specific about where you're at in the upgrade to get very specific emails. So when you get an email from me, we send quite a bit, monthly, get educated, things like that. When you get scheduled, you start getting boom, boom, boom. You're coming, you're going, you're going, you're going. So
And from what I understand, what you just said is you guys are upgrading only the LiveEDU people first.
they're both happening at the same time. So Office 365 service upgrade from Wave 14 to Wave 15 started at the beginning of the year and is going to go through the end of the year. LiveEDU, we've been upgrading since last September and will be finished this September. So they're overlapping, and that's part of the scenario issue with the 2-hop. That's all I have. I had that question in the booth yesterday, and I pinged the team back in Redmond, and they said, yes, it's resolved. So I'm going to trust that it is. Just for you guys that don't know the IPv6 issue, there is apparently, after you moved to Wave 15, there were some issues where you had to disable IPv6 for it to work with Office 365. I've been told that that is resolved now. There is a session that my teammate who owns those service outage comms is doing. I can't remember if it's today or tomorrow. Let me tell you the code, and then you can look it up. Service. Katie, I know you're here. I don't see it right off the bat.
It's an Office 365 communication.
It is an Office 365 session, and it is talking about service comms. And I don't see it in the summary list, but I know I saw it. I thought it was Thursday. Anyway, if you come check me in the booth from 12:30 to 3:30, I can tell you exactly what session that is. DirSync with password sync was released on Monday. And somebody said it's on TechNet and there's a video. And they'll be talking about it in the Thursday session, 2:45, with John O'Luck. Question?
What kind of training resources are available right now for the end users as far as the Wave 15?
They're on, I want to say TechNet, but God, that's sad. So we do have a bit of content. If you go to the Office 365, let me see. If I go to community.office365.com, and then I go, follow me here, I go to wikis. And then down with Office 365 Service Update Wiki. If you go here, and by the way, the academic SKU is identical to the enterprise SKU. from a support perspective, from a feature perspective, it's identical. A2 is identical to E3, I believe. So just click on the Enterprise Service Update. And there's some links here to like what's new in Outlook Web App and SkyDrive Pro, and it provides links to content that you can use to communicate. You might have to let me know if that's not in a student-ready format. I know we could do a better job in providing help desks with training content. Question?
Yeah, one of the things, for those of us who didn't go from Live EDU, using the Live ID, we've got a lot of professors and students who have Live IDs using the school's namespace.
And you want to block?
Well, or let them change it. And if they've added on SkyDrive storage, things of that nature, they're not allowed to change that over. Is there a way we can, on the back end, start doing that, at least for the EDU namespaces? A lot of them have the Live EDU transition, is to somehow start pushing that in the back end to allow
Yep.
one-time change.
Yeah, the question around the live IDs, how can we either force a change of the domain or the identity? You can't. It's a consumer. It's their own personal, and so. But they can change the ID. Like I can change my Windows Live ID anytime I want. The problem is all my Skype contacts will disappear and things like they'll lose. Like you just need to communicate. You can change it. Here's what the ramification of that change is. And there's no way to block your school domain from being used. Like, there's nothing stopping me from going up to Windows Live, or what is it now? Yeah, anyway, creating a Skype account of jim@google.com. Like, it has nothing to do with the domain name on the end. It's just a string identifier for that user.
And that's something you can help push because the sign-in pages, as they're starting to evolve, they're getting users to they're getting prompted. Are you using your corporate credentials or are you using your Live ID? It's just going to create more and more help desk calls for us.
Well, now your portal is only going to be pointing them to Office 365. It should not be pointing them to Skype or to SkyDrive.
They go to any Microsoft services as the web pages are changing, they're getting prompted. So when they sign in with live.emory.edu, it's going to list it out and they get an option down at the bottom. Are you using corporate credentials or live credentials?
Yeah.
And it just adds more confusion for us if you can help push in the back.
Yeah. And to add on to it, how IE caches passwords and username in the browser, because they're the same, if they're logged in as the Office 365 account and they need to switch over to their SkyDrive to get documents, it's it's literally a different user, so they need to, open a new browser window. Question, and I know we're out of time, we're in overtime right now, so take one or two more questions.
I want to follow up that our faculty are not able to register a Microsoft account with our apps, blah, 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 with you. They are blocked from doing that, and we have to get permission from our email administrator.
On, like a Skype account? We are not blocking.
Skype, a Microsoft account. I mean, they can,
Yeah, a Microsoft account, sorry. Yeah.
they can sign up for SkyDrive, for example, and after the I'm not sure about our
The only reason that they should not be able to sign up for that is if that ID already exists.
Well, it actually tells us no, because if our email administrator then does something, then they can sign up.
Please come. Yeah, please. I'd love to talk about this more. Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for coming.